Hi, my name is Linda Coulter. I'm a textile artist. I live in Kingston, Ontario. I've lived here since '95, originally originating in Toronto, and came here with my banking career and retired about 15 years ago and took this up as a full-time hobby, which has turned into a part-time job, but loving every minute. So I'm going to take a minute and show you a sample piece that I'm working on. I'm in the latter stages. This series of 3 prints is based on a trip to Churchill that I made with my grandchildren earlier this year. We went to see the aurora. We took the train up, and on the way up on the train, the sun came up early morning, like 5:30, and I got a series of photographs from the sun rising over the very flat snow. But because it was so early in the morning and the sky was so dark that the snow looked blue on my camera. So I thought I'd create just a memory piece for me, not for sale particularly. And so I've created 3 pieces, and I've used a piece for background and sky, which was created in the summer by pouring dyes onto a piece of fabric and manipulating the colors and manipulating the shape of the movement of the dye with some idea of what I might want to use it for. Not a fixed idea, but thinking of sky. So this is actually the second in the series. What I'm working on now is I'm working on the final stage, but between the dyeing and the next stage is what I call the collaging part, where I take different fabrics, and I don't know if you can see behind me, but if you can't now, you will shortly, is my collection of fabrics that come from a lot of donations from people, a lot of rummage sales and stuff. I try not to buy fabric because there's so much fabric that goes into the land waste anyways. And then I like old white sheets, and then I dye them. So this was dyed with indigo, and this was dyed with a Procyon dye, and then this might have actually even been a snow dye, and I can go into that process later. But I collaged the pieces together to give an impression of what I was feeling at the time, more than an actual recognizable piece of art. So what struck me about this sunrise was that when it started, the sun was bold, bold, bold. There was very little detail to be seen other than the shades in the sky. As the sun came up, you started seeing the trees, and you're in the boreal forest, so the trees are very spindly. And so you started seeing those, you started seeing the light, and then when the sun was totally up, you realized that the whole place was full of trees. You just didn't see them because the sun was so bright. So that was kind of the inspiration for the piece. What I'm working on now is getting ready to frame it. So I've got it all hand stitched and all of the trees in place, and they're all measured out sort of. So now I'm trying to make these each 12 inches by 12 inches, and I will put them in a vertical frame so they can hang on the wall in that manner. So I'll just show you very quickly of how I do my measuring, because it's a little weird. Painter's tape is my friend, and what I do is I create my edges that I will then sew. So I don't use a sewing machine until this stage, really. And then I'm not going to do it in front of you, but what I then land up with is a piece like this. I'll put this under the sewing machine, and I'll just do a running stitch along the outside so that I know where to cut. So I have a nice square, and then I'll put it together with a solid fabric around it just to highlight the pieces. So that's one of my many techniques that I use, but this is a very common technique for me. So for the sewers in the group, this is only basted so far. It's not stitched, and it's certainly not finished. Hopefully by the time the L&A studio tour comes along on September 9 and 10 of 23, it will be completed and framed and ready for sale. So please join me.